A bad attitude is an outward reflection of inward issues. And it is also the greatest roadblock to you living a life of fulfillment. I'm going to start by telling the story of two brothers. So there are two brothers that were raised in the same household. They're 2 years apart, and both were raised by a deadbeat, alcoholic, abusive father. Now that they're older, there is one brother that is a millionaire and a CEO of his own company, and there is another brother who is an alcoholic and is struggling through life. They were interviewed, and in this interview, the basic question that is posed is, hey, how did you end up here? So the interviewer first goes to the brother that is the CEO and the millionaire and poses that very question. Hey, how did you end up here? And the brother's response was, well, with a father like I had, how could I have not ended up here? A couple weeks later, the same interviewer goes to the brother that is an alcoholic and that is struggling. And it poses the same question. Hey, how did you end up here? And this brother's response was, with a father like I had, how could I have not ended up here? How is it that two people raised in the same household that have similar experiences can end up in two entirely different situations? How is it that one brother can choose bitter while the other brother chooses better? And one of the things that we need to establish up front is that tough times do not indicate what you become. However, it is your response to the tough times that ultimately indicate what you will become. The truth about life is that every single person goes through challenges. And so if you're listening to me and you're going through a challenge, welcome to breathing. I remember Les Brown said that he found through personal experience that the fastest way to get back on his feet was to miss 3 car payments. You miss 3 car payments and Uncle Joe gonna show up. And some of y'all don't know who Uncle Joe is, but just know that Uncle Joe has a big truck and a rig, and he's coming to hook the stuff that you thought was yours. But when you think about the story of the two brothers, what is the difference? Because they're both raised in the same household. They both went to the same school. They both had the same influences around them growing up. They both went through the same struggles, yet one chose bitter and one chose better. One of the things that I've noticed about us as human beings is that we spend a lot of energy focusing on the facts. We spend a lot of energy focusing on the facts of what happened. But I want to submit to you that if your attitude is right, the facts don't matter. If your attitude and your mindset is right, the facts are irrelevant to what you are going for, and the facts will not become a roadblock to you accomplishing everything that you want to accomplish. And every single day, you and I are presented with the decision to choose bitter or better. It was Stephen Covey that said, we are not a product of our circumstances. We are a product of our decisions. And for some of us, we are making the decision to choose the victim mentality. The victim mentality strips you of your power. The easiest way for you to be stagnant in a situation is for you to decide to choose victim as opposed to choosing solutions and moving towards something that is moving the needle in the right direction. And one of the things that I want to establish is that no one is to blame for your bad attitude but you. With that, we have to get to the point where we stop fighting ourselves. We have to get to the point where we stop resisting ourselves. We have to get to the point where we realize that if there is no enemy within, the enemy without can do us no harm. W. Clement Stone says that every adversity has the seed of an equivalent or even greater benefit. But our struggle in life is our attitude towards the situation. Where you sit determines what you see. And a lot of times we are choosing to sit in a seat of defeat. We are choosing to sit in a seat of the victim mentality. We are choosing to sit in a seat of helplessness. We're choosing to sit in a seat of being stagnant in life. I love the story of the elephant and the stake. A young elephant can be tied to a stake in the ground, and that stake in the ground will prevent the elephant from running away. No matter how hard the young elephant tries to pull the stake or tries to get away, it cannot. However, the stake in the ground has a greater mental hold on the elephant than a physical hold on the elephant. Because if an elephant is trained that it cannot move from a stake in the ground, no matter how big that elephant gets, it will mentally think that it cannot move from the stake in the ground. It'll mentally think that, hey, I have to be here. And there's someone that is listening to me that is figuratively still holding on to a stake in the ground. There's someone that's listening to me that's saying, hey, I can't move. This happened. This situation happened, and it's tying me. It's keeping me from movement. And the elephant doesn't understand that, yes, although that situation happened, although you were tied to a stake, you're not there anymore. You're an adult now. You're full grown now. You're big enough to move now. You're not powerless anymore. All you have to do is make a decision and choose to move. And if you're listening to me, I have to tell you that you're not powerless. You just have to make a choice not to play victim. You just have to make a choice to move. And ultimately for us, the choice that we have to make is the choice of bitter or better. Every single day, that coin is flipped. And on one side is bitter, and on one side is better. Now, bitter comes more natural to most people. But bitter leads to a life of disappointment. But if you can challenge yourself to choose better, better will lead you to a life of fulfillment and a life that is greater beyond anything that you could have ever imagined. Those that choose bitter, they have an impact on their mental health. They limit their opportunities, and they have this self-fulfilling prophecy where bad things happen in their lives and they continue to say, see, happened just like I said. Too many of us have an Eeyore spirit on us. Not much of a day for not much of a donkey. You're a warrior. You're more than a conqueror. There's so much that you can accomplish if you decide to choose to be better regardless of the situation that happened to you. Tony Robbins put it this way: no one is coming. No one is coming to save you. Anthony Mink says that your life is your fault. And there's so many quotes from motivational speakers where they're all saying the same thing. And pretty much what they're saying is if your life's going to be any different, you have to make a decision to let go of what's no longer serving you. And you have to make a decision to forgive and let go of the bitterness. And you have to make a decision to reach for the better that is to come. So how do we begin to choose better? And we talked about living an intentional life. And choosing better is directly linked to a life of intention. Zig Ziglar says that we need a daily checkup from the neck up to avoid stinking thinking that could ultimately lead to the hardening of our attitudes. Because you will not be a success in any area of life with a bad attitude. But remember, if your attitude is right, no matter what's going on in your life, the facts don't matter. and you'll eventually make it on the other side of it. So how do we do it? How do we begin to choose better? The very first one is to practice an attitude of gratitude. The more grateful you are for where you're at and what you have, the more abundance life will bring you. You want to adopt the mindset and the realization that your worst day is better than someone else's. And we can become so self-absorbed and so self-consumed that we don't even realize that even our worst day, even though today sucked, there is still someone out there that has it worse. And so the question that I want to pose to you is, what would your life begin to look like if every day you made a decision to be grateful for what you had as opposed to focusing on what you lacked? Dennis Watley said, I had the blues because I had no shoes until up the street I saw a man with no feet. The more you focus on what you lack, the worse your attitude will be. And a positive attitude, positive energy is often a result of recognizing all of the abundance that is around you and all of the opportunities that life is presenting you. Next is to focus on the present. Instead of being consumed with the past or worrying about the future, try to stay present with where you're at right now. And in order to do this, you're going to have to make the decision to challenge negative thoughts. I believe in psychology, they call it thought replacement, which is taking that negative thought and replacing it with a positive one. You're going to have to talk to yourself. You're going to have to talk yourself off the ledge sometimes. And sometimes you're going to have to talk yourself from spinning out. And if you can't do it, you're going to have some people in your inner circle that'll do it for you. Because the person that challenges you and holds you accountable loves you more than the people that allow you to sit in your mediocrity. Spend time with people that are enthusiastic. Spend time with people that inspire you, and spend time with people that are wanting to grow themselves. Now, there's someone who's listening to me that is trying. Sometimes you can have an entire plan laid out, and sometimes the storms and the winds of life can come and just blow away your plans, and it can leave you to feel defeated. It can lead you to feel bitter. There are times where you can even begin to convince yourself or say to yourself that this should not be happening to me. I'm a good person. This should not be happening to me. I've always tried to do right by other people. I've always tried to do my best. Why am I going through this? And when you start to have that dialogue with yourself and you're searching for answers, really what it is you're starting to just feel lost and you're looking for home base. And if you're listening to me and you feel lost, I want to leave you with this thought that water always makes it to the ocean. It always makes it to where it's supposed to be. On its way, it hits a lot of unexpected obstacles, but it ends up where it's supposed to be. Water doesn't cut through rocks because of its power. Water cuts through rocks because of its persistence. And I say all that to say that if you don't give up, you will find the happiness you deserve. You will find a life where you thrive and not just suffer through. That dream that you're chasing is bound to happen. But it all starts with your persistence and your willingness to let go of the past and your willingness to make a decision that regardless of what happened to you, you are not going to allow it to mentally keep you attached to that stake in the ground, but you are going to continue to move forward. It all starts with a positive attitude, and it all starts with you choosing better over bitter. Always remember that growth is a journey. It's not a destination. I'm in it with you. On to the next.